Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to round 2 of IBECC and our 10-minute presentation. We have obviously 3 schools here. You're all competing against each other in this particular bracket. And I'm going to read to you what the official instructions are. You've probably read them before, but we want to have a level playing field for everyone. This is the 10-minute presentation. You have been called back because you were so good yesterday with your entire story. You've now been called back by the company you gave your full presentation to for a second visit. They have asked you to speak only about the ethical aspects of the problem and to explain why your solution successfully handles the ethical issues. You will have 10 minutes and there will not be any Q&A at the end. I will not interrupt you. Obviously you can't use slides or video, you know that already. And you're going to have a timer in front of you if you feel that you need it. And I'm going to have a timer here that's set for 10 minutes. If you press that twice, it'll start over on the right. Yeah, okay, you got it. And before we get started, before we start the clock, you have about a minute just to brief me on your situation and who I am. Remind me what role I'm playing. Remind me what role that you are playing. And then when that's out of the way, that's when we'll start the clock. If the clock runs out to 0, I'm not going to cut you right off like that. I'm just going to say, can you please wrap up within the next few sentences or so. Any questions from anybody? Okay.
We can start with a 10-minute thing because we put that in our first part.
Fine, absolutely. So if you don't need to, that's great. So let me sit down here. So I can start the clock right away for you?
Yes, sir.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we are ready.
All right. It is the summer of 1986 in Atlanta, Georgia. You are the Professional Standards Ethics Committee, which is a group that consists of physicians from the Emory Clinic. Today, we will be discussing Dr. Kavanaugh, 2 whistleblowers, and the cover-up at the Emory Eye Clinic. Dr. Kavanaugh had immense power. He had earned his degrees from Harvard and Johns Hopkins. As a chairman at the Emory Eye Clinic, it had given him power over his colleagues. His vision was to build the $24.5 million state-of-the-art eye clinic that was to be world-class. For a while, they had let him get away with irrational behavior. He raised funds, significant funds, to build the eye clinic using malpractice and fraud. Examples included operating on healthy eyes and changing medical charts. He also cut corners to generate revenue. In result, he operated on the wrong eye of Sargis Houston, who is completely blind today. He formed a band of followers who helped him conspire and cover up his unethical behavior. The Emory leadership knew of Dr. Kavanaugh's malpractice and fraud, but did not intervene because they profited from his unethical business model. In this case, this is what happens when leadership fails to respond to unethical behavior problems.
All right, a common ethical dilemma is truth versus loyalty. Loyal employees are obedient to their boss, and they protect them. Ethical employees are concerned with the truth. Emory chose loyalty. We believe this decision led to a culture that was unjust and unethical. Historically, medical ethics has been concerned with physicians' duties. New physicians are required to swear up in the Hippocratic Oath and to uphold specific ethical standards. The first of these is to do no harm. It's much better to do very little or even nothing than to risk harming or injuring a patient. At Emory, this was obviously violated. We know the facts in the case. Fraud and malpractice was used to build the clinic. Healthy eyes were operated on, and records were changed. The clinic knew all of this, but they acted to cover it up. They withheld documents from the American Academy of Ophthalmology and the State Board of Medical Examiners. These actions were simply wrong. They're unethical, unlawful, and against anything we consider to be right. We understand that the Professional Standards and Ethics Committee might believe that if you limit the number of surgeries and the number of hours that physicians work, this might fix the issue. But culture has a big impact on what people do in organizations. And if you don't fix the culture, you won't fix the problem you have. Emory is concerned with the truth. It's in their vision statement. Think about what's most important to you when you go to the doctor. Is it truth and loyalty? Is it honesty? Would you go to a doctor who's lied to you before? We've categorized 3 ethical cultures to explain employees' behavior at Emory. The first, today, 1986, Emory has a culture driven by egoism. Employees act out of self-interest and prestige, and sometimes at any cost, even if it hurts others. Utilitarian ethics might be applicable to some business models, but in medicine, physicians have a duty to each patient and have no right to distribute care unequally. Emory needs to adopt a duty-based culture, and their employees' behavior will be driven by specific principles and codes. There's 4 key components that we've identified at Emory that are affecting the culture. The first is decision-making. An unethical leader, a rational leader, is making all the decisions. Patients aren't being given their right to informed consent, and they can't make their own decisions. Employees are obedient to the boss, and they've rationalized their behavior, and they contribute to the unethical actions. Rewards are given for the number of surgeries. Rewards should be given for positive patient outcomes. There's no justice at Emory. The 2 whistleblowers we talked about before, Campbell and Gammons, they brought forward the allegations of unethical behavior, and nothing has been done about it. For Emory to have organizational justice, there needs to be 3 components: trustworthy leadership, a perception of fairness, and procedural justice. There's over 300 studies that show organizational justice provides better results. Today, you need to settle quickly and quietly with patients and prevent the RICO charges and the threat of RICO charges. This will lower any settlement costs that you have. You need to honor the whistleblowers and develop a story around their heroic efforts so that other employees act in the same way. You need to fire Dr. Kavanaugh and hire an ethical leader. You need to review all his charts and make sure that no other patients require compensation. This is the fair thing to do. You also need to add an ethics committee to the peer review process you currently have. And as you move forward to try to get Emory's culture back in the right direction, you need to draft a standards of ethical conduct and make sure that physicians take part in the drafting process. You need to start ethical training and make sure top management is involved. Start surveys and audits so that you can track any changes in the culture over time. Appoint a compliance committee, and this is for accountability. They report directly to the president and the CEO. Establish and maintain a hotline for whistleblowers because they undergo dissent and many other psychological issues, and they deserve to be protected. And lastly, you should start a response and investigation system so that things don't get like they are today, so that you have fair, open procedures for when employees bring allegations of unethical behavior forward. We believe that if you implement these changes, you will be able to take care of patients much better. You cannot afford for another patient to wake up blind at Emory Clinic. That's it. We're done.
Thank you. Excellent. We'll have our next team go up and we'll start in a couple minutes.